Recently, we published several wildlife photography articles in Photography Talk that have generated some questions from our readers. Now, one question that caught my attention was, what are some tips to taking better photos of big cats? So in today's video, I'm going to give you a bunch of quick, actionable tips for doing just that. And no, not photos of those kind of cats. I mean cats like this, and like this. Now, the problem is where I live in Los Angeles, or actually technically Orange County, there are lions and cheetahs and big old cats just roaming around me to photograph. Fortunately, though, I have a good buddy, Bryan Pereira of Exposure Tours. He's been leading wildlife photography tours in Africa for several decades, for a long time. He was nice enough to give me permission to use some of his photos as examples of what you can do to improve your photos of big cats. So, hey, Bryan, thank you very much for letting me use some of these photos and videos, and also providing some great tips that I can now share with the rest of these fine folks. But before we dive into the tips, I do want to quickly reiterate a couple things that I say all the time. Now, first, if you really want to level up your photography game, nothing beats a photography tour. I mean, watching videos like this is a good start, but the tips I can convey in a few minutes are pale in comparison to what you can learn on a multi-day photography workshop with somebody like Bryan, for example. Now, second, when you travel to a location that you've never been to before, going as part of a tour takes the pressure off of you from having to plan everything. So your guides, they're going to know where to go, how to get there, when to get there, and so forth to maximize your experience. It's like going to a baseball game with someone that really knows the game versus going with somebody that has never been to a baseball game in their life. The friend that knows what they're talking about can explain that this guy hit a liner up the middle for a base hit. As a result, you come away from the game having enjoyed it much more with a greater knowledge to apply in the future. That's what being on a photography tour is like. Think about it, you're surrounded with like-minded people who enjoy photographing, in this case, big cats like you do, and you can benefit from the expertise of folks like Bryan, who can give you all sorts of instruction and insights as you go. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the meat of the video. Before taking off on a photographic safari, invest time in understanding the behavior and the habits of big cats that you want to photograph. Knowledge about their routines, their preferred habits, social dynamics is going to help you anticipate their movements, which is going to increase your chances of capturing authentic and compelling moments. Bryan told me about a time where he arrived at a location and he found a lioness sitting in the shade. Now, the group of lions got up to greet one another, which was a perfect opportunity to capture a variety of interactions. Suddenly, an older female showed up, and the younger lions went absolutely crazy to meet her. So he spoke specifically about this moment when the younger lions all walked into a line. And you can do all the research that you want, but sometimes you can get a perfect and an unexpected shot that you simply cannot recreate. Now, whether it's a leopard or a cheetah or a lion, each species has a unique characteristic that can influence your approach. So familiarity with their behavior not only enhances your safety, but also ensures more respectful photography experience that doesn't intrude on the incredible animals as they go about their daily business. To capture stunning images of big cats in Africa, timing is absolutely critical. So venturing out during the golden hour, early morning and late evening, when the sun bathes the landscape in warm, soft light to get the most impressive shots. Now, these periods not only provide a very pleasing aesthetic, but also coincide with the big cat's most active times. Now, during these hours, you can also witness these creatures engaging in various activities from hunting, playing, or getting a little shut-eye, resting. Now, the angle and quality of light during these times enhances the textures and colors in your photographs as well, so making your big cat portraits all that much better. Now, a number of years back, I read this book by Maxwell Maltz, and in this book, he had this quote that just stuck with me over the years by Robert Collier, and it goes, "Visualize this thing that you want, see it, feel it, believe in it, and make your mental blueprint and begin to build." Something like that. But photographing cats requires much more than just reacting to the moment. It demands thoughtful planning. The reason why I shared that quote that I did a moment ago, before you go heading out on your safari, envision the type of shots that you want to capture, plan for different scenarios, considering the lighting conditions, background elements, and potential compositions. Now, this proactive approach is going to enable you to be much more deliberate with your shots, ensuring that you don't miss any critical moments due to fumbling with your camera settings or indecisions about how you want to capture the action. And while being spontaneous has its place in wildlife photography, a well thought out plan is going to increase, my friend, your likelihood of achieving your desired results. So carry around a shot list, and look, it doesn't need to be fancy. Write it in crayon, keep it on an index card, and keep it in your pocket, and be ready to adapt, because the wild is full of surprises. Now, it's imperative to be safe when you're out photographing African cats. All the more reason to go on an adventure like this with a photography tour. Now, your guides will also understand big cat behavior and know where to take you and when. Now, they're also going to know how to behave when these cats get really, really close. So staying calm is obviously paramount when the curious cat decides to check you out. Now, at the end of the day, being safe isn't just about protecting yourself or becoming a Darwin recipient. It's also about protecting the cat. So staying inside your safari vehicle ensures that you and the cats have a safe experience. Now, for an intimate and powerful portrayal of big cats, position yourself at eye level. Now, this perspective establishes a connection between the viewer and the subject in offering a glimpse of the world from the cat's point of view. To get the shot, Bryan stayed with the lioness for about 15 minutes. He then noticed that she was becoming curious about her surroundings. She spotted a herd of zebras in the distance behind the vehicle. And as the zebra passed their location, the lioness kept looking at them through the gap underneath his vehicle. So he crouched between the front seat and the first row of the rear seats, and just a few feet off the ground. And with his massive 400mm beast of a lens, he was able to capture the moment in which it looks like the lion is staring directly down the barrel of his lens. Yeah, that's a pretty cool shot right there, Bryan. Now, this approach not only emphasizes the cat's impressive stature, but it also provides a much more engaging and captivating visual narrative. Additionally, it's important to focus on the cat's eyes when composing the shot, so ensure that the cat's eyes are sharp and well lit. Use a wide aperture to create a shallow depth of field, isolating the cat's eyes and face from the background and drawing attention to their features. And while focusing on the eyes is important, don't forget to capture the grandeur of the cats in their natural habitats. Include environmental shots that showcase the beautiful landscapes, the vegetation, and the unique features of the African wilderness. Now, these images are going to provide context to your big cat photographs, telling really at the end of the day, a much more comprehensive story about the existence of these animals in the wild. Now, wide-angle lenses are excellent for capturing the expansive scenes, and they also add a sense of scale and really emphasizing the size and the power of these cats within their environment. And when framing up your shots, pay close attention to the background to avoid distracting elements. And you've heard this before in other aspects of photography. Aim for the background that complements and enhances the overall composition rather than competing for attention. Now, a blurred background or neutral background can make the cats stand out in the frame, emphasizing their natural beauty. So regularly, assess these surroundings and be prepared to adjust your position and within reason, staying where it's safe, to find the most aesthetically pleasing backdrop with the least amount of visual clutter. To give your big cat images the most visual interest, compose your shots using the rule of thirds. So instead of placing your subject in the middle of the frame, divide it into that 3x3 grid and position the key elements along these lines or at their intersections. For instance, align the cat's eyes with one of the intersections to create a much more dynamic and balanced composition. Now, this technique draws the viewer's attention to the different aspects of the photograph, making it much more visually engaging. The wildlife photography demands patience, and this is especially true when photographing big cats in their natural habitat. Be prepared for extended periods of observation and waiting. Look at it this way. Having a PhD in patience is really going to be key here. The wild is unpredictable, and the most remarkable moments often unfold when you least expect it. So embrace the quiet moments and let the scenes in front of you unfold naturally. So again, patience is not only a virtue as cliche as it sounds there, but a key ingredient in capturing authentic behavior and interactions with big cats without causing disturbance. So the more patient you are, or the more patient you are rather, the greater the reward when the magic moment finally materializes. Let's bring this to full circle by closing off with repeating something that I said earlier. Give a photo tour a try if you really want to elevate the quality of your photos. And, think about this. I just shared with you a bunch of tips and things that you have to keep in mind when successfully photographing wild animals. If you are having to worry about the planning and doing this, your safety, all these other moving parts and so forth, that leaves just a narrow window for your attention span. A photo tour lifts a lot of that heavy lifting off your shoulders. Photo tours provide access to prime locations, valuable insights about techniques and gear, and the support needed to capturing incredible images of big cats. Now, experienced guides like my buddy Bryan at Exposure Tours can enhance your understanding of the animals, offering technical advice, and ensure that your adventure aligns with ethical and responsible practices. This photo of a leopard is called Split Nose. It's a great example of the benefits of a photo tour. Now, there were quite a handful of vehicles all around him, and with everyone keeping their distance, but Bryan had a feeling where this incredible cat was going to head it, and so he positioned himself to get the shot, and sure enough, the leopard came over the mound where Bryan suspected he would. The result is absolutely incredible. Well, friend, I hope you found these basic tips for photographing big cats helpful. And if you have a top tip that you'd like to share, drop a comment down below so all of us can learn a little bit more about this topic. And as always, I appreciate it if you like and share this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I'll be back with another video on some wildlife tips, so stay tuned.